Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 5th season, we are looking at Joe Johnston's 2011 film, Captain America, The First Avenger. I'm Andy Nelson from True Story FM.
And I'm Pete Wright. I'm the Ring and Spring Man.
I hope that dies after.
That might be the end of the bit. It might be.
There's no killing the Ring and Spring Man.
Just been exhausted just right now. So good. Glad we were here together.
Well, today we're talking about minute 53, which begins with a hello from Peggy and ends with Steve taking us through his dreams again. Joining us on the show again, we have Travis Bowe and Robin Burdge. Hello, you two.
Hello.
We're coming in on the monkey. Let's start talking about the monkey. We've got the drawing of this circus monkey on a high wire, a bunch of freaky ring and spring clowns below him. He's in a Captain America outfit with an umbrella. What do we think about this monkey and the fact that Steve is an artist, which we should also talk about? Who would like to kick us off?
Well, I did do a little look-see at the trivia and saw that this possibly could be referring to comic books having Captain America drawing his own comic at one time. I don't know any details about this. I'm sure Travis knows all about it.
Yeah. In it's the late 70s, Roger Stern and John Byrne era Captain America comics, they came up with this idea that, it had already been established that Captain America, or Steve, had been an artist, and he was trying to get work, his personal life. He was trying to work as a commercial artist, which led him to the offices of Marvel Comics, which had been established in Marvel. In Marvel Comics, there was a Marvel Comics, if that makes any sense. They would take the exploits of these heroes and they would make stories about them.
Very meta.
And so, yes, very meta. Yeah. So Steve goes to the offices at Marvel and he gets a job writing and drawing, or I think at least drawing for sure, the Captain America comics. So.
Back in the days where they're just sitting around at Marvel and somebody takes the red pill and everybody gets high and they decide to burn the place down.
Well, what I think is funny about it or interesting about it is that there was this idea of Steve, as he got the super soldier serum, that it really kind of enhances all of his abilities. And I like the fact that one of them is art and that he's a great artist now. And also I can't help but think that there's like a little nod to hippie Steve that we have in the 70s TV movies, because that's his thing. He just wants to hang out on the beach and draw.
Draw.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that, just hearing you say that the super soldier serum enhances all his abilities, and he's including art, and what we see is a pencil sketch of a monkey on a unicycle. Yeah, I guess it's enhanced.
We all start somewhere.
Those are his feelings, man.
It's a great metaphor, though. Again, he's using his powers for the wrong thing. Like, it should be.
Is it a metaphor when the next line is he says he's a dancing monkey? I think it's a little more literal. But what I love is on the facing page, there is some sort of there's a train and some writing that I can't make out, and Italy, the boot of Italy, and it feels like he's also documenting some war plans, and maybe we're focusing too much on the dancing monkey and not, oh my God, this is also the war machine. This is the secret Easter egg of the war machine.
We didn't know that the super soldier serum actually gives him some sort of psychic or future powers, because on that page, it's where he meets Bucky and where he loses Bucky, all in the same picture.
All on the same page. Yeah. Right. If you look very closely, you can see somebody falling down into Italy.
And there goes his arm as well.
Yeah, right.
Oh, did any of you have a good enough image of that to read the text? I tried on every screen I could, and I could not, even on going onto Disney Plus on my television, and I still could not make out the text that's written under that train.
No.
That's a bummer. I'm very curious what it says, because it looks like maybe I was like, is it a quote? Because it almost looks like it's that, hyphen somebody's name, like at the very bottom, but I don't know. I couldn't figure out what it was.
I think I see the word Simon. I'm going to lean in on Simon.
Joe Simon?
Brand Army of Simon. The Army of Simon. No?
Simon the Monkey?
Simon the Monkey. This is Simon the Monkey. Okay, so this is a whole story that he's writing.
Canon.
It's a children's book
Yeah.
about the adventures of
There you
Simon
go.
the Monkey journeying on a circus train across Italy.
Yeah.
Makes
It
sense.
writes itself.
It does.
Totally
It
writes
does.
itself.
Something I learned today, I was trying to find whose hand was initially sketching, and it's probably Chris Evans. Someone else drew this, but I was trying to find out who drew the monkey and these pages. I couldn't find anything, but I did find out that in Civil War, spoilers for Civil War, this page with the monkey is framed and it's in Steve's, his room.
Yeah.
You can see it in Civil War when he's watching some of the footage about the attack on the UN, thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So it's pretty cool.
Framed on his desk. It is a very cool little nod. It is interesting that he somehow managed to keep track of this all that time.
I imagine it went into that someone like Peggy would have gathered up all of his. Well, I guess I don't know. Now I'm second guessing that, but could have been the aide and Senator Brandt kind of collecting all of his things.
Maybe it was his USO stuff, and so he could just go get it. Yeah. I buy that.
He stole that from the Smithsonian as well.
Yeah.
Well, we're here with the monkey, and Travis, I know, when we were looking at minutes, this was the specific minute that you were like, I want to talk about the minutes with the monkey. So, what was it about this minute that drew you to want to talk about?
Drew, I get it.
I wasn't going to say it.
First time seeing this movie and just the simple inclusion of Steve just doodling, sketching, it told me that they did their homework. They knew who Steve Rogers was. They knew that he was an artist. And that goes back, to the early comics. I mean, I love that detail, him just sketching in his downtime. And it reminded me, and sorry, I'm breaking your timeline. I'm going to jump to my favorite Captain America moment because it ties into this. It's a moment from Avenging Spider-Man #5 from 2012. And they're sitting around and they're going through some old comics that they found. It's something kind of making fun of the whole Liberty. It's called Liberty Bonds, actually. Very, on the nose. And it's this star-spangled type hero who's just, shucking Liberty Bonds just like he kind of was in this movie. And they're all kind of razzing Steve about it. And it was a book that Steve himself, wrote and drew. So kind of tying back to that whole idea. And Spider-Man goes up to Steve and says, how come you put the pencil down? And it's this gorgeous 2-page spread by Lionel Francis Yu. And he just draws some of the big moments that we all know of Captain America. It's him punching out Hitler. It's him on the experimental rocket that he ultimately causes him to go into the ice. Just imagery of war. His simple response to Spider-Man of why he stopped drawing over all this imagery is, stuff. And it's just this humble response. It's just so simple, but it's my favorite Captain America moment. For me, it ties into this. Just seeing Steve draw is big for me.
That's an interesting moment because it also kind of speaks to PTSD and things that people in war go through and things they see and stuff like that. And you don't hear about that often with superheroes. I know we will actually a little bit with Tony coming up, but there is an idea of that with Captain America that we've never really explored, and so it's actually interesting that they did explore that in the comics. So that's a great moment.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And yeah, I think that there is something with that here of this person who is trying to get a handle on what he is, because I think it was actually interesting watching Steve over the montage and seeing him, he starts smiling, he kind of gets into it, but there's always something behind his smile that says, I'm enjoying this, but it's not what I want to be doing. Like there's always that read with him. And I find that to be, well performed by Chris Evans, and it works well for the character. I really enjoy it. Now, I have a question for all of you about this as far as Peggy is concerned. So she's here unofficially. Why do you think Peggy is here? Why do you think she came?
To move the story forward. I'm going to lean on...
Because the plot said so.
Narrative utility.
I don't know. Because it's too early for any S.H.I.E.L.D. business, if I recall. Because that hasn't been established yet, I don't think.
It's still SSR.
In all seriousness, though, like she has some allegiance to the super soldier program, and we also know she's crushing on him by this point. And so, like, there is some part of her, one, she has the freedom and the agency to be able to kind of go where she wants because she's not an official U.S. officer. Like, she's kind of doing her own thing. So off the book, she gets on a plane. She goes to check on her prize relationship, this thing that she helped create. I think it's okay for her to sit down and say, hey, you know what? You were made for more than this. And I'm going to go ahead and jumpstart that for you because I believe you are more than the monkey, even if you feel like you're kind of stuck in this role.
I don't know. I was thinking that maybe she was like the Maria Hill to Colonel Phillips' Nick Fury. like I just thought they kind of stuck together, you know?
I get that. Yeah.
And that Phillips is here because of the, so many soldiers being lost. I don't know. I'm not even sure why Phillips is here, really. Was he commanding that?
Well, we'll we'll talk about him tomorrow and figure out like what the heck is he doing here. But yeah, for her, it is strange because it's like she says, officially I'm not here at all, which sounds, it's not even like I'm not here. I'm here unofficially, like sounds different than officially I'm not here at all. It almost sounds like, it is written that I am not here. Like it's interesting the way that she words that. But I did find it odd. I'm like, so, I mean, is she just coming to cheer him up? Is there like an SSR angle that she's looking at doing? Like, this conversation that she has with him, and we get a portion of it here. I mean, she's looking at him and what he's doing. And I do think there is an element of her knowing that there is more that Steve can be doing and should be doing. And he only sees the two options, the lab rat or the dancing monkey. And so I don't know. I guess I'm curious about that because it's like, what is she expecting of him at this point as she says that?
Right. That's what I noted. And especially, I've always seen this scene and wondered what her motives are here, pointing out that there is something else that he could be doing, but I don't know what she's thinking is the third option. I don't think she's thinking you could be a super soldier and go behind enemy lines and rescue people. I don't know that she's made that leap yet. He's going to, but
yeah.
Here's a question though, Travis, like, have you made that leap as an audience member?
Yeah, I mean, I expect him to get into the fray.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's a superhero movie. But for me, that moment when I realized just how stupid the U.S. military is during the montage a minute ago when he's holding up the motorcycle over his head. We know he's a super soldier, and now for me as an audience member, I'm making that connection that he is so much more, and he is absolutely being misused, and I'm waiting for the movie to catch up. And I'm saying, like writ large, that's the kind of emotional journey I'm on. And now here we are 2 minutes later, and we get her coming in and giving me the opportunity to hear that play out.
Right.
I almost feel like I feel a little bad for Steve here because I'm just like, did he have a choice? Like, was any of this his choice? Like, he's just like, now he's being used for this now, and he's kind of learned to deal with it.
Yeah, because he was rejected by Colonel Phillips. He wanted nothing to do with him. He wanted a battalion of Hodges. And, yeah, Phillips didn't want him to come with him, I guess. And, yeah, so Brandt scooped him up. Yeah, I don't know that Steve had any other options at the time.
Right.
Well, and it speaks to the program because, I mean, he signed up to do this. He said with Erskine, yes, I'll take that chance. and I will give my body over to science so you can experiment on me and, you know, turn me into your super soldier. But yeah, it's like Erskine's dead, and as far as we know, the program was dead, and it was either, I mean, the only options we heard were the lab rat or the dancing monkey. So it does strike me as a strange thing. Like, is she coming in to kind of push him to kind of like break out and do something that he's not supposed to do? Which of course he will do, but I don't know. I guess it does seem strange because it doesn't seem like that's her intention.
Yeah, ultimately, it seems like, I mean, I know, Pete, I think you were kind of joking about she's here because of the plot, but it really comes across that she's here because we need to motivate him to, you know, she'll say the 107th, you know, next minute, and that's going to spur him on,
but,
you know.
Okay, but here's, you know, I think it has to be just they needed to get Steve and Peggy together. They're not in the field of battle. We know that because the way that the World War II was battled, the women were not out on the field fighting. So we need to have moments of Steve and Peggy together, and starts feeling very scripted because that all could have been handled by Steve sitting there drawing his monkey, feeling sullen, and that medical vehicle drives in, and he asks somebody, "Oh, who are those?" "Oh, they're from the 107th. You know, they just came in." And he freaks out and goes and runs and talks to Phillips and finds out what's going on. Like, the whole thing could have been written without Peggy here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why, you know, to your point, we have an opportunity to get him and Peggy back together. She is unofficial. She's such an incredible utility player. Like, she's a queen on the chessboard. You can do anything with her in the script because she's not an official of the U.S. military, and find it believable. And I still contend that she's here unofficially gives us permission to believe that maybe she does want to see him go to work. Right? Maybe she doesn't mind pushing him in a direction to do something himself off the books. I think that's okay for her to be a little bit insidious about this.
I kind of like that idea because we know that she's going to go on to a life that involves espionage, and yeah, maybe there's a part of her that it's like I could use him as a weapon, as you know, and not in a cruel way, but yeah, I could see her thinking, yeah, he is a valuable asset. He can do things, you know, that no one else can. So yeah, maybe I can urge him. Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, and I guess to that end, she is the only person who still is the voice of Erskine, right?
Right.
Like, we've got Phillips, military, Brandt, you know, making money and selling war bonds. And she is like, super soldier program. Remember this super soldier program that we have? Let's use him as a super soldier. And so I guess to that end, yeah, she is thinking in the terms of how Erskine would be thinking of, like, let's put this guy to use in the best way possible, as opposed to these other ways that aren't using him to the best of his abilities.
Yeah.
It's funny, as you were saying that, it made me remember the scene in Iron Man, you know, where he remembers Golmira, which like triggers something because he remembered Yinsen, you know, coming from there. And as he's watching this horrific news program, they mention Golmira has been, you know, just devastated. Like, that's kind of what spurs him on to get into that fight.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. We're going to have a lot more of this conversation tomorrow as they kind of wrap it up. But I wanted to start this one off with this direction that we have coming in with Peggy unofficially popping in at random, it seems, at this moment when Steve needs her the most. So I guess it just, you know, in the realm of plot contrivances, it definitely feels that way. But it still works. We love Steve and Peggy, and so I guess it's all good.
Star-spangled crossed lovers. Thank you.
You're back in Pete's favor with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do you two stand on the Steve and Peggy romance? Do you buy into it, or do you find that it doesn't quite play that well?
Oh, come on. I mean, I've seen all the Marvel. I swoon. I'm all about Steve and Peggy.
Yeah, she is so charming in this movie. Yeah, she's incredible. It's unfortunate that there is a time jump with Steve. There kind of has to be, and unfortunately, then you don't get these two having that much screen time together. But I mean, major spoilers for Endgame. I cry every time that movie ends when it ends with him and Peggy. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's funny, though, how little time they really spent together. Like they had a week at Camp Lehigh.
and that whole montage was 16 hours again.
She wasn't there. She was in London.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like they didn't miss a lot of time apart during montage period. Like, it was fine.
I do wonder, we will find out that there are a couple British, camps or holds along the line. And I wonder if she was at one of those or if she came down from London to visit with Steve. I wonder how far she had to travel. Because I don't know if we'll ever really figure that out. But, well, I don't know if I have anything else for this particular minute. Do either of you have anything?
I love her mentioning or him talking about the bond sales take a bump every town I visit. And I love that she calls him out. Like, is that Senator Brandt speaking? And he's even saying it, I think, trying to convince himself, because he's down right now. He's depressed. So he's trying to say the words to make himself feel good about what he's doing, but there's no conviction behind it.
Yeah, he hates himself. That's why he's drawing himself as a monkey holding an umbrella and a unicycle. I mean, that's basically he's drawing himself. I had some fun facts about war bonds.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have time for that?
Well, I just looked up like celebrities and like who sold the most war bonds. And from my internet research that I only devoted like 5 minutes to, Dorothy Lamour, who is known for the Road 2 movies, apparently she was known as the Bond bombshell because she sold some $300 million worth of war bonds around the country.
Ooh.
They said...
Wow.
Also, Greer Garson, Betty Davis, and Rita Hayworth did 7 tours in more than 300 cities. And then they also had another big fundraiser was the Stars Over America, which they somehow talked 337 stars. Were that many in Hollywood back then? I have no idea. But apparently 337 stars helped sell $838 million worth of war bonds together during that campaign. So,
wow.
Lots of money.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's interesting. You go back and you look at old interviews and stuff with celebrities, and they were all, I mean, regardless of their politics, they were all very supportive of the troops, and they were all very, very much promoting that. And that is something that was very cool.
Andy, I wonder if you could whip up a spreadsheet of adjusted USO performance per finished show and give us in today's dollars how much each performance made. You think you could whip that up? I mean,
oh yeah,
as a spreadsheet hound yourself.
Take me, a couple hours. Yeah. On the next real show, I do an adjusted profit per finished minute for all the movies that we talk about. That's what Pete is talking about there. Just trying to get a sense of stuff. Well, it all started because of Tangled, and I can't remember how I landed on that, but looking at like how much money that movie cost and how much money it made versus like how long it was because it was so short as compared to like something like Avatar, it actually, when you adjust it per finished minute, I think it ended up doing better than Avatar. I think that was our whole conversation.
Yeah, and now APFM is a legendary Hollywood metric.
Yeah, we're still working on convincing them that. But
yeah,
yes.
I mean they don't know it yet.
They don't know it yet, but
it's coming.
But they will.
They will.
Just you wait, Hollywood.
We have a direct line to ComScore. We're actually working ComScore. Make them integrate that into their reports.
All right. Well, Robin, Travis, why don't you remind everybody about the shows you're working on and where people can find those wonderful shows?
I did Watchmen Minute a couple years ago. So if you're looking for another Movies by Minutes project to listen to, you can find the completed 186 episodes of the director's cut of Zack Snyder's Watchmen. They're all just waiting for you.
Excellent.
Ooh, we're doing old plugs. I like this. I also did Fright Night Minute, where I talked about the 1985 movie Fright Night. And I even had Chris Sarandon himself on the podcast. It was amazing. Please go back and check that out.
Ooh. You are so cool, Brewster.
I really felt cool that time. Ralph Macchio doesn't know me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. He's just waiting.
I sent him a
He's
message.
biding
He
his time.
sent me back that Mariah Carey gif. I don't know her.
All right. Well, we'll have links for their projects in the show notes. Check those out. We'll be back tomorrow for Minute 54. Pete, thanks as always.
Just dreaming of the front lines, Andy.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Spread the News by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, consider doing that for this show.